Okay, so without further ado, we are going to be talking about today, Lucid for Education. Just a quick refresher, what is Lucid for Education? Then we're going to hear from four specific professors and how they use Lucid in the class, in their instruction and teaching. Then we're going to review specifically, if you are new to using Lucid inside of Canvas, we are going to go over one, how do you activate your account in Canvas? Two, how to collaborate your activity, create collaborative activities embedded in your Canvas course. And then finally, how to send out Lucid assignments so each student gets their own copy of your assignment. So to start off, Lucid for Education is a suite of 2 instructional tools that all Canvas students and instructors have access to. And Lucidspark is our collaborative virtual whiteboard. Anybody who might still be worrying about Jamboard going away on December 31st, Lucidspark would be one of those replacements. You can import all of your Jamboards into Lucidspark and keep collaborating. And then Lucidchart is our interactive diagramming and graphic organizer tool. Looking specifically at those two, Lucidspark, when you're thinking when and why would I use Lucidspark, you're thinking collaboration, collaboration, collaboration to enhance engagement and participation with your students. So thinking of collaborative brainstorming activities, kickstarting discussions or lectures with response prompt boards, managing small group discussions or activities or projects using our breakout boards. And then anytime you want to use a pen tool to annotate directly onto the canvas, you are going to want to use Lucidspark. As you can see here, you can embed PDFs so that you can then highlight right on top of it, drag sticky notes, and dig into that text, which one of our professors is actually going to be talking about today. And then, of course, icebreakers. We did an icebreaker at the beginning, so they're a really great way to build community and trust within your learning environment. Quick, easy, and fun. And now, the difference with Lucidchart. When you're thinking Lucidchart, we're thinking about thinking maps, graphic organizers, starting timelines from our templates or from one of your own graphic organizers, and then creating concept maps, process maps, procedure maps, and any technical diagramming. Lucidchart has a vast library of shapes being used in industry. And so anytime you want to be doing technical diagramming, you want to be inside of Lucidchart. So that was a quick overview of Lucid in case you are brand new to Lucid. But now to get to the more exciting part, we are going to hear from 4 educators who have been using Lucid within their Canvas course to enhance student learning and their overall instruction. So our first instructor is going to be Val O'Bryan. She's coming from Utah Tech University. She works in the English department, and she's going to be sharing with us about how she facilitates text annotation, analysis, and lateral reading, comparing and contrasting, and digging in to text in a higher education setting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hear from Val. Let me go ahead and get that started.
Hi, I'm Val O'Bryan. I am a part-time instructor at Utah Tech University in the English department. I have been teaching freshman and sophomore composition since 2019. In the English department, students do a lot of reading. In my English 1010 class and 2010 classes, we have students do close reads of texts where they're really digging into those texts. They're doing annotations, they're putting notes in the margins. Another very important skill for students is lateral reading, which helps them evaluate the credibility of the source. They can compare multiple sources at the same time to kind of cross-check claims and get a better perspective rather than just relying on one source. So what I love about using Lucid for lateral reading is that you can have both of those texts pulled up side by side, right in Lucid. Everything can sit right in Canvas, so students aren't getting lost anywhere or having trouble navigating. Being able to have those 2 texts pulled up at the same time in Lucid is much easier than trying to have students flip back and forth on different screens or different tabs, or even trying to tile their screen, which is great for looking at two things at the same time, but then they don't have any way to annotate, or there's no place for them to put notes when they're just looking at tiled screens. So Lucid is an incredibly powerful tool for lateral reading. There's just so much you can do with it. My previous slide showed how my Lucid lateral read activity was hosted right inside Canvas. Very convenient for my students. I created a template for the activity, put it in a Canvas assignment, and then my students, when they open up the assignment, they get their very own Lucidspark to annotate and to comment on. So this is what the activity looks like if you're accessing it and making it full screen. And you can see that I have the two texts pulled up side by side. Students are able to use the highlight tool to make highlights. The very first thing we looked at was for word choice and language and tone. And so you can see how students are finding words that are sticking out to them and that help them detect that tone and possibly that bias. I, as the teacher, created a template that had sticky notes along the side asking questions about stance, author, organization. And you can see that this student has placed sticky notes to address those questions. This was such a great activity for the students to really have everything in one place. It was a very effective way to get them to look at two sources at the same time and to compare the language. And then being able to have more conversation going on the side with my prompting them to look at authors, to look at organization, what can they find? It's really easy for them to share their Lucidsparks with each other. You can have groups working on them. And so it's a very efficient way to look at everything and have everything all in one place.
And now I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next professor. Ashley King is coming from the University of Tennessee-Knoxville. She is a senior lecturer in business technology, and she's going to be sharing how she utilizes a more technical aspect of Lucidchart diagramming for collaborative group work with her students. All right, so keep collaborating and let's learn from Ashley.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley King, and I'm a senior lecturer in the Haslam College of Business at the University of Tennessee-Knoxville. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you about Lucidchart and everything that we're doing with it to enhance our business students' development here in the Haslam College of Business. Over the next few minutes, I want to take some time to talk to you about how we incorporate Lucid into our massive scale business-wide information management course, as well as how I've adapted it to be in our upper level business process analysis course. One course, as you'll see, has several thousand students in it each semester. And so we use Lucid to help students integrate and collaborate together in a seamless way, regardless of their modality. In our upper level courses, we use it in a bit more technical way. So I want to make sure that over the next few minutes, I spend some time talking to you about how we've used it to integrate through our courses. We're extremely excited to have it fully integrated into Canvas. It makes the transfer of knowledge from us to our students seamless, especially as they're able to click on the integration and get registered for an account so quickly. If you ever have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out. My contact information is available through the Lucid team, and I'm happy to interact with you and help you in any way you can. I look forward to talking to you for the next few minutes. Hi, as I mentioned earlier, we use Lucidchart in a variety of courses here at the University of Tennessee, especially within the Haslam College of Business. One of the things that I want to talk to you about first is our Business Administration 342 course. So we use this as a way to introduce the fundamentals of database building to students. So as you can see in the slide, which I'm going to dive over into a couple of Lucidchart documents for you in just a minute, but as you can see on the slide, we have a template for this assignment. So the background of the assignment is that students are trying to figure out how data is connected within a relational database. And so we start out by using Lucidchart in a collaborative learning environment where we have students both in face-to-face modality, we have students in synchronous online modality, and we also have students taking the class fully asynchronous. So regardless of the modality, students are able to use Lucid in a way that they can collaborate to create this relational database diagram. We call it an ERD. It's a very basic version of an ERD, but we're introducing students to the concepts of primary and foreign keys and how to build relational databases. In any given semester, this class has up to 1,100 students in it. And like I said, they meet across multiple modalities. So as you can see, we would give them a template of how to get started in creating these tables and what a database looks like in a modeling environment. But then with a set of instructions, we typically turn them loose and ask them to go on sort of an adventure by looking at the data that a grocery store would keep track of and then exploring the ways that they can connect that data together. So as you can see, like I said, here's our template. And you can see our template as part of this process. We share this with students. It's a lockdown template. Students make a copy of it for their assignment, and then they move forward into creating their own. And here is a copy of a completed student database. So as you can see, they've changed the colors of the text. They have looked at these different types of tables. They have indicated primary and foreign keys. They have created these relationships by moving one field from one table to a field in another table. And while the students have areas of improvement in this database model that they're working with, for example, they've linked dates together instead of true primary and foreign keys, this allows them to learn in a way that is meaningful to them. Another thing that we really enjoy about the Lucid suite is the ability to see who is collaborating in a document. So we like to be able to see which of the students on the team actually added certain pieces to the collaboration. So that's an important piece for us as a part of the Lucid suite and one that we really enjoy working with. Like I said, this particular course has 1,100 students in it each and every semester, but the students are able to collaborate in real time or they're able to collaborate asynchronously by using the tool. We ask them to share both the link to the tool and to print off the PDF so that we can verify authenticity and see who's working in the document. But this has been a really effective way to actually have students engaged in the learning process. Now, as I said, this is a very basic template that we use and a very basic kind of process that we have our students go through. But it's helped us to allow them to reinforce key learning objectives like collaboration in an online environment. It helps us to explain the concurrent update affordance of technology. It helps us to allow students to engage in group learning activities and project teams in a more meaningful way. So we've chosen Lucid just for this basic database ERD drawing above any other software that we could have, and we've used many others in the past. We also use Lucidchart in this class for whiteboarding and for having students enter in their ideas, but our main focus of having them join the Lucidchart setting is to do this ERD assignment. Another way that we've incorporated Lucid into our pedagogical approach here at the University of Tennessee is by using it in our Information Management 341 class. Within the College of Business, students can choose or not to take extra information management classes. All of our accounting majors within our college and any students who choose information management as what we call a collateral would take this course, but the course focuses on business processes and is hands-on learning throughout the semester. So in this assignment, which is a little more in-depth than the one that we talked about for Business Administration 342, students are using Lucid to document complex business processes. So students will work in teams or by themselves in order to document the actual process that a business goes through in order to see where the improvements might be or to see how data moves through an organization. We use documentation like data flow diagrams and flow charts in order to have students understand the processes that businesses go through. So why do we use Lucid for this? Well, unlike products like Microsoft Visio, Lucid allows our students to engage in real-time collaboration, which there's no replacement for. There's no replacement for learning real time and interacting with those around you. As you know, as educators, if students can explain something to each other, it means that they truly understand it. So unlike the video that talked about our Business Administration 342 assignment, this one is much more in depth. So I want to show you an example of a student assignment where we would be documenting these business processes. So here's a student assignment that talks about all of the different data flows for a particular scenario. The students are given a complex business scenario and asked to document context level 0 diagrams. So as you can see, this is a very complex diagram, and students are allowed to work individually, or they're allowed to work in pairs or in groups to complete this diagram. This focuses on information management topics like decomposition and abstraction, and also allows students to balance a DFD and look at flowcharts to incorporate risks. So as I flip through this, while you might not be an expert in flowcharting, or you might not be an expert in data flow diagrams, you can see the work that the students put into modeling here. And students have to incorporate shapes or build stencils in order to use this product. Building stencils and incorporating shapes in Lucid is so easy and so rewarding for students. They can go and they can grab extra shapes, or they can create their own stencils, which is really, really helpful to them as a learning process. But as you can see, this is a much more complex activity than where we were doing the basic entity relationship diagrams in our large course. This course that incorporates all of these data flow diagrams and flowcharts, it has about 140 to 200 students a semester, and students collaborate in real time in a face-to-face environment. So the students who are working on this together are face-to-face, in person, in class, but still get really, really true benefits from the engagement through the concurrent update affordance that Lucid has incorporated into all of their products. So we're just getting started here at the University of Tennessee with the Lucidspark suite, and we use Lucidchart in a variety of different ways. We're looking forward to engaging with Lucid and using more products in the future. But if you ever have any questions or you want to reach out on how to use Lucidchart effectively in business management processes, I'd love to chat with you and tell you more about our Lucid experience.
All right, without further ado, let's go ahead to our next presenter, Christopher Bailey. He is coming from BYU-Idaho, and he works in the Department for Computer Science and Engineering. And he does some really great things for structuring collaboration, engagement, and utilizing collaborative Lucidspark boards to increase deeper conversations and engagement. So without further ado, let's hear from Christopher Bailey.
Hi, I'm Christopher Bailey. I am currently the Senior Director of Consulting Services at Lucid Software. But by night, I am a adjunct professor for Brigham Young University, Idaho, where I teach a class called Technical Teamwork, and essentially teaching computer science and engineering students how to function in teams and build teamwork, but then also how to function in larger groups, organizations, and leadership principles and things of that nature. And I'm loving using Lucid as well as Canvas in my classes because everything is 100% online for our class. Couldn't use it without both that combination of both of them because of needing to have both remote conversations where individuals can have discussions using discussion boards and things like that in Canvas, and then having more live active conversations during virtual forums with students where we can have an active discussion over a Zoom call, things like that. One thing that is super common for my class, and particularly those that teach online classes, likely experience a very similar thing, is you need to have open conversations with the students in more virtual conversations. That may typically be with Zoom or other technologies where you're bringing the group together, and then you're trying to have a live conversation about topics that you're discussing within the class. That's actually core to the class that I teach, because a part of it is we review these case studies about a situation or an individual. We have a discussion using the discussion board during 1 week, And then the next week, we have a live conversation where we build on top of that, things that we're learning, and then apply some of the things that we're learning directly there in the live session. Now, as some of you have probably experienced in those Zoom calls, it can be difficult to get everybody open and speaking in sharing some of their thoughts. Yes, you can get some people that are wanting to type in some words and thoughts, but I found that just people coming off mute or typing in information into the Zoom chat wasn't actually getting enough of a broad participation from everybody that was there. And typically I've got 20 to 30 people there. And one of the goals and grade of things that you're getting graded on is that you participated actively. And so that felt pretty limiting for some people that may not feel as comfortable just directly speaking up, or maybe they have some thoughts that, I don't know, other people are probably thinking the same kind of thing. So I won't answer with that as well. When I began using Lucidspark as a backdrop for those conversations, everything completely changed for my ability to be able to draw people into the conversation and have a bit deeper of a discussion there with the group. A couple of the benefits that happened with this was increased engagement, more psychological safety, drawing introverts into the conversation, things of that nature. Let me actually show you what that looked like for our class. This is an example board that one of the classes that I went through. We have a number of different areas that are in here that students can interact in. And during the conversation, I'm essentially taking them through different pieces of this. We're focusing it on different areas, asking questions. And one thing that I found particularly useful is if I come down here and I have a specific question that we want to talk through, and I've left sticky notes in there, immediately students go in and they start filling in the sticky notes. It's kind of like fill in the blank activities where they know what the natural response needs to be. And so they're immediately going in. I will still have students that will speak up over the Zoom call, or they'll put information into the Zoom chat, but I get much more participation in the Lucidspark board with students being able to share some of their thoughts that way. Great way in order to get them to start bringing in their thoughts. The other thing that is actually very key to this, that I've been doing this, is if you see this section up here above, we'll have a conversation up here and talk through things. But if I don't have sticky notes already here for them to fill in, or even a prompt up here at the top, I can give them an active prompt, but I don't tend to get the same kind of amount of responses. You'll see here, I've got about 4 sticky notes that the students created based off of the conversation that we had here, versus down here where I had a prompt and a handful of sticky notes for students to be able to fill in within this. So that's a quick pro tip for something that I found that really draws students into that conversation. 2 other things have made this much more engaging. One is the ability to do visual activities. So in here, I can create an activity where they can go in and I can give them a question and they can move this slider bar to their opinion. And then we can take a look at their responses on the other side. So here I can view the results and I can see, oh, hey, we're really spread out here. This is great. We have very differing opinions. Let's express those opinions on the other side and hear each other out so that we can find the through line for what we need to be learning and taking away from this. So that's a great tool. The other great tool is these individual emoticons. And so you can get some quicker sentiment analysis from students. They just click on the sticky note, hit a reaction, and that lets me see where is the group starting to coalesce their minds around? What's resonating with the group? And then we can focus in on those things. Those have been great tools for helping to really draw individuals into the conversation. So highly suggest leveraging those kinds of elements and getting towards these kind of benefits. Many of you likely have Zoom forums that you need to run with your students or classes that you have to do online and have more of that conversation with the entirety of the students. And you want to give them assignments and send them out to go out and practice some things that you've been teaching them. So very common to go and use breakout boards within Zoom, breakout sessions in Zoom, to have students go out and take exercises. What I was finding, though, was that I would typically lose some students where they would just kind of duck out early because, oh, I don't want to go out and do some practice. because sometimes those don't work so well. Or there might be some confusion as to what I'm expecting of them from the exercise. It can also be difficult to tell, where are the students at? Are they making okay progress? Are they doing all right with the different activities? When just like jumping in and having to hear, you have to sort of jump between each one. And that all changed when I started using breakout boards in conjunction with the Zoom breakouts in Lucidspark. And start to get towards more of these kind of benefits here of not seeing anybody leaving, being able to see differences between student responses and accelerating them into some practical application, plus some creature comforts of being able to more easily see and facilitate breakouts that are going on. Let me show you real quick what that looked like. This is an example of a concept that I was teaching our students. And I wanted them to go into a breakout afterwards to go out and explore that concept by applying it to a scenario that I'm giving them. So here in Lucidspark, I've created breakout boards that they can each go into. And when they jump into their Zoom breakout boards, they jump into the same number of one. And as in this example, they've got now a space for them to be able to work in. And I've given them, again, very specific instructions for things to consider and then things to fill in. What's really great about this is I can actually do a couple of things just from this view here as a facilitator with the breakout boards. I can see where the students are at. You see my little icon there. I can see who's in each one. So are they actively participating within there? In conjunction with the Zoom breakout boards, I can see if people are talking, if they're having a conversation, or if things are silent. And then if I'm concerned, I can see here a high-level view of what their board looks like, or I can just immediately jump to their board and see, what does the conversation look like? Do they look like they're making progress? And instead of me having to jump in and interject, I can just jot down a sticky note here for the group saying, hey, this part right here is going really well. You should jump onto the next section, or maybe consider this as a bit of an improvement, okay? That's really helpful for the conversation itself. But then when I need to gather them back in, I can do a couple of things here. First, I can add everybody or bring them back to the canvas, to our main board. I can also drag this content directly back onto the main board if I wanted to have us see this collectively, okay? If I come here, then I can say insert content, and then that will copy the content from that breakout board directly into here. And then I can do other group and sorts to see what are differences between the students' conversations that they're having, or maybe point out and say, hey, let's have team 2 jump into this piece a little bit. So that helps to capture their attention a bit more than what I was doing previously, and give them much more specific and better instructions for what to accomplish. So I found those breakout boards, those breakout sessions actually work a whole lot faster, and I'm able to more easily facilitate a bit of those conversations. One other element that comes into play when we're doing virtual conversations with students is you want to make that feel alive, make it feel natural, that this is a part of the outcome from us having a conversation about a topic versus me just simply lecturing to the student. The more that they can see their inputs driving the results and the points that the class is trying to make, then that starts to solidify a bit of what the students are actually thinking. So with that, we can start to see these kinds of benefits of seeing students contribute their ideas into it, aligning it based off of student input, and helping to make those concepts stick. Let me show you what this looks like for a class that I teach. This is a specific concept where I'm trying to help the students understand the difference between things that an individual may be aware of themselves or they may be unaware about themselves. And so we go through an activity. I've put some fake information in here where I'll have them fill in this persona for an individual that we've been studying and have them describe things about their motivations, frustrations, etc. So they'll enter input into this. And then the next thing that I do is I'm going to ask them to use tags that I've pre-created. They'll go into here, click on a sticky note, and then go to tags. And I've created 2 tags for them to choose from. And then I ask the students to go through, take a look at those, and tag each one of the thoughts in here with whether they think that this individual is aware or unaware of this attribute themselves. Based off of that, then I can really cool within Lucid. I can drag all of the sticky notes. I'm going to pull these ones out. And then I use this sort functionality here based off of tags. Okay, so there's 17 sticky notes in here. It's going to create 2 containers of these for me by pulling these all together into one. So I'm going to click on that, and you can see all of the sticky notes that have those tags are now drug into either this aware bucket or this unaware bucket. Even some that some of the students may have felt differently about, it'll still split that one. And so we can then focus the conversation on, gee, these are the things that this individual is unaware of themselves with. So how might we help this individual to become more aware of this element about themselves? So you can use these same kind of features to have student input go in and then group and sort those in different ways so that you can then focus the conversation on points that you're trying to make that are based off of students' input. And again, what I've seen is that that starts to make a big difference for students being able to take something away from the conversation, because it's not things that I've been adding and sort of forcing them down, but it's their thoughts. So it makes it much easier for them to grasp that concept because it's their ideas that they're connecting it to and not necessarily mine.
Our last professor, Matt, is going to talk a little bit about how he is at Brigham Young University, and he does experience design and management instruction. And I really like at the beginning, he talks about how he utilizes Lucid training materials to equip his students with the technical ability before they get into the live experience when they're actually building and creating. So I really liked that aspect that he brought out when he was sharing his tips and tricks. So let's go ahead and watch a little bit from Matt.
Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Durden, and I'm coming to you from Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, where I'm the department chair of the Experience Design and Management program within the Marriott School of Business. And I've been excited and engaged user of Lucidchart originally, and then also Lucidspark as it was released not too many years ago, and have found them to be incredibly helpful in terms of facilitating student engagement and collaborative student work. And with the recent integration with Lucid and Canvas, I think it provides even more opportunities to proactively use Lucid in different in-classroom and out-of-classroom settings. I teach experience design, and so I'm thinking a lot about the learning design and the learning, the design of learning experiences and the experiences my students have inside and outside of my classroom. So excited to share just a couple of thoughts with you in terms of how I use Lucid. So the first thing, I think when adopting a new platform, I'll often think about the amount of class time this is going to take to get people up and running, right? Am I going to have to devote in-class time or assignments for students that I'll have to make sacrifices other ways? And at first I spent some time in class going through some exercises with students, but more recently, I've really used the resources that Lucid already has available in terms of its training resources. And so now I just have assignments where students have to complete both the whiteboarding foundations course for Lucidchart, for Lucidspark, and then the Lucidchart diagramming foundations courses. They each take about an hour to complete, and I can assign that, and the deliverables as a student, they get a little badge, a digital badge, and then I have them put that on their LinkedIn profile and just send me or submit a picture of that. And so students get something they can stick on their LinkedIn profile, on their resume. And once they do these 2 courses, I rarely have to answer any questions about how to actually use the platform. I feel like it's pretty intuitive. They figure things out, both at the undergraduate and executive MBA level. This works where, you can just sort of outsource the training and just make sure that assignment is scheduled early enough in the semester so they do that before you actually have them start doing stuff. But I don't teach how to use Lucid. I think a lot of it's intuitive, or students have used whiteboarding or like collaborative whiteboarding platforms, but then just giving them access to these 2 trainings sort of takes care of that. And so once they're up and running, the other thing that I found really helpful is using Lucid for group work, but using templates to scaffold that group work. And so I've been lucky enough to work with an alum from our program who is now at Lucid in terms of figuring out how to like set up some templates. But then once those templates are set up, to be able to say, okay, we're going to be working on experience mapping today, do this search, you can find the template, make sure everybody in your group gets on this page, and then they're just really off and running. And I used to do, and I still believe the value of doing analog work with Post-it notes and when I'm doing experience mapping, but I would go through a lot of materials and just a lot of wasted Post-its. And while I still use Post-its, being able to have everything on Lucid has really cut down the resources that I require to teach my courses, which are very workshop heavy. And so now, and also like you have a bunch of people doing like Post-it work, and then at the end, it's figuring out how to like capture. So there's this back end work. And even though the tactile piece is great, the back end work of having to transpose and create new things. And I know there's like apps and things you can do, and we've leveraged that to a certain degree. But I love the fact that I can give them a template. It gives them sort of scaffolding for their group work, and then they can just start working on it. And it really leads to like collaboration. So I can see they're all 6 of them or however many in a group. And I can sort of go around and see their boards. And if they need my help, they can add me to the board. I can hop on. I teach for the most part in person, but if you're doing this virtual, that's really nice too, because you can just be right with the students in their workspace and give them feedback right on their piece. The other thing that I found too is when I have students turn in sort of process packets where they're documenting sort of process and products from the class, from the things that we're working on, rather than having to do a bunch of, either pictures of their sort of Post-its on a whiteboard or even screenshots of other things that often aren't at high enough resolution so I can actually see what's going on. If they just provide the hyperlinks to their boards, and you have to remind them to make sure that the sharing options are set so you can access those. But to be able to see the students' work, get in and provide helpful feedback and grades, it's so much easier with Lucid because I can just go right to it. I don't have to really, formatting of screenshots and all of those things in reports to just say like, here's the hyperlink, and I can just go. I mean, of course, if you want them to have a screenshot plus a hyperlink, that's great too. Maybe that makes the report look a little bit more visual, but you can get at those details. And I think the templates are really nice because, again, I don't have to walk them through how to set up the bare bones of the thing that I want them to do. I can give them that. And then from that, they can, this up in the top right-hand corner, this is a template to design touch points. So the touch points of an experience map. And so rather than have to print out a bunch of touch points or them have to, they can just go in and copy and paste this cluster and just start working on it. So they can be, you can have, in class yesterday, I had people mapping with this template, and then at a certain point saying, okay, everybody take a touch point and start working on touch point design with this template. And before it was like emailing paper, I'm like, oh, I did these two and I'll be email and you combine it. But if it's all in here and once they're done, they can set it up to look more like easier. They can set it up sort of frame like slide sequence if they need to like it in more of a presentation mode. But it becomes really easy for them to create, collaborate, and then share that information in a way where they're not like time's not wasted trying to figure out how to compile everything and how to get the person access and how to make it, look nice on Word or wherever they're exporting it to. And so I really love the flexibility of one, getting them up and running through the online trainings, and then using templates to scaffold group work. And so I'm really grateful for the way that Lucid has impacted my teaching. It allows me more time to do teaching and mentoring and feedback, and less time just sort of managing the logistics of group projects and the supplies necessary for things like experience mapping that can take a lot of resources in the real world. And of course, those processes are still important, and I still do both. but the flexibility and what you can do with Lucidchart, Lucidspark really helps me as an instructor just have more options and spend less time sort of on the logistics and more time on students doing and me teaching. So I hope you find these helpful. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Matt Durden. You'll be able to find me on LinkedIn if you have follow-up questions. And hope this was helpful for some of you. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday. It's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday. Oh my goodness.